Hey there, welcome to my channel. The channel that I'm still calling Work in Progress, and still hold the vision, I'll call it, where we can gather together, people just like you and me, regular folks, where we can have a conversation that we have on Zoom and put it on this channel about challenges that we've gone through, challenges that we're going through, insights that we've gotten, things that we've learned, everything about the stories of our particular life's journey. Again, I believe that we're much more alike than not alike, and I truly believe when we share our stories with one another, we begin to create a bond and a connection to realize when I say we're more alike than not alike, I'm not talking about our particular beliefs or opinions or any of that. I'm talking about more alike than not alike as humans. Humans that are going through this experience. In other words, we're spirits, souls, whatever you like to call it, that's having a human experience. That is where we're so much alike. So that's the hope, and again, as we're just beginning with this idea, we're going to see how it goes. I tend to follow my instincts, so I'm not majorly attached to how it has to kind of move or what direction it should move in or how it should evolve. I'm staying open to that, so we'll see. But I'm going to just let you know that my contact information is right below the video. So if you'd like to have a conversation with me, then all you have to do is contact me through that link that's below the video, and we'll have a conversation and go from there. So, and I mentioned this at the beginning because in case you don't stay till the end, then at least you know that's what's going on. There's other links as well to Facebook, etc. Below the video. So I wanted to come on today to speak about something that I find is very interesting, informative, and I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. Maybe they are out there, but I just haven't heard it, and I listen to a lot of different people. And what it is about is our body language. Now, when I say body language, I'm not talking about reading body language of another person. You know what that is, where you kind of look at body language and you pick up on some kind of energy, etc. No, I'm talking about something entirely different. I'm talking about our bodies communicating to us. Communication through our bodies. It is a particular language, and it is powerful, insightful. My experience has been from this that when it speaks the truth. It's like a knowing when you listen to it. Clearly, it's like a solid knowing. Now, I happen to hear a lot of what I'm calling body language when I'm doing my yoga practice. So the body is in a yoga positions or poses. And this is when information will start, not always, but at times, starts to come through. And when I say it's a language, because it really is, it's entirely different than a thought would be. It definitely has a feeling of intuition, but yet it's the body. So for instance, in yoga practice, or if you're in a certain sport, like tennis or something that's repetitive sometimes, you could be running, jogging, walking, or even just sitting in nature, where you go within, meaning you leave the external and you move into the body. So when you're moving into the body, you're going into a deep place. And I think the reason that activity like a sport or yoga or running, jogging, whatever, I think the reason that is a really typical time, at least for me, that this information comes through. Now, for the most part with me, it's not necessarily information that I'm asking about in the moment. It's not like I have a question in my mind necessarily. However, it could be something that's kind of been in the back of my mind, so to speak, that I've wondered about or I'm getting some kind of instinct about. The day, actually this happened to me today, and before I actually started doing my yoga, maybe an hour before, I got a kind of download of how our lives are kind of like seasons, but not the outer season, not summer, winter, fall, spring. But it is a season of the body is what I was kind of getting. You know, I was looking outside, and today happens to be a rainy, cloudy day, and somehow it came to me that our bodies or our lives are kind of like a season as well, where most of us aren't in tune with what the season is. It's a feeling, it's a sense. So maybe that started, I don't know, for me to get some information coming to me through the body. It can be something that you've been kind of maybe working with, whatever, thoughts or concerns, issues that you're having. That's the time that these insights come. Now for me, I don't jog anymore, but I used to jog. And that was another time that oftentimes these insights would just kind of come in. I remember one day jogging, and it was a very weird thing, but instead of being in the body, it was an out-of-body experience, which people have. It's not a biggie. But I was starting, I actually just had begun my jog, and this happened several days in a row, where I felt me jogging with me. So there was another me outside of the body, jogging with this is me, and very strange at first experience, but very insightful. And what I really got from that was, that was my higher self. That was my spirit. It's really amazing, quite amazing. And I think this happened for 3 or 4 days in a row, and then never happened again. But it was quite an experience. So there again is, it was about out-of-body experience. So an out-of-body experience is kind of like that, where you see something, you see your spirit or something that spirit or soul would see that is not seen through these physical eyes. It's seen through a different area without the eyes, let's say, through maybe the third eye. So this whole body thing has a lot of information in it, this whole idea of how in touch or how are you listening to the body. Now, the body speaks in so many different ways. One way that you probably are aware of and gets talked about is through pain, That lets you know something's going on with the mechanics, let's call it, of the body. Even to exercise too much and get sore muscles, that lets you know maybe you're overdoing it. Or the body you get really tired, that's part of the body. Now, or overworked, or, not taking care of yourself sometimes. For me, I've always heard the body. It doesn't always mean I haven't, that I've bothered to pay that much attention, meaning listening to it. I used to say I would override the energy. I would override when my body would say, come on, I'm exhausted, we need a break. I'd say, no, can't yet take a break, got too much to do, got this goal I got to meet. That's an overachiever. Sadly, that's where I spend part of my life. But the body spoke to me. I can't deny that. So it wasn't like, I heard it. I would hear it. but I felt I chose to try to override it, which I could do then. Not so easy now. Not so easy as I've gotten older. Overriding the energy doesn't really work the same way I think it used to. And that's a good thing. But now what I'm talking about is how do we go into the body, or how do we get there? So again, for me, it's through yoga. It can also be through walking. In a way, it's like when you're doing something that is in movement, some type of movement, but doesn't take a lot of concentration, right? I used to also play tennis, and I remember this was another place I would get it. I would love to go to this tennis club we belonged to, and you could rent a ball machine. It would, throw the ball to you, and it was a repetitive front, backstroke, whatever it was I was trying to practice. But it was very repetitive, and so that would some people call it getting the zone, and that would happen for me there. And again, I would hear different things come through the body. And I don't really hear a lot of people talking about this, and I'm not sure why. It isn't that easy to talk about because it's a language of its own. And yet when you hear it, it's a knowing already that you know it. It comes through when you're hearing it as a knowing, as a something that it's telling you, that something about you, something of where you're dealing with right now. It can be all kinds of things. And it does kind of language itself, if I want to call it that, or come through in a way that you can, let's call it interpret. Yeah, you can translate what it's saying. Now, after that, trying to put it in words, exactly what came through, sometimes can be a challenge, but you know it within yourself. And it's a knowing. There's no argument, there's no nothing. It's absolutely deep down knowing, something that maybe you've been kind of struggling with, Why I think this is so important is because in today's world, the external world, that outside there, really isn't working so well for most of us. So we have to find a way to move within. So there's, without saying moving within the body, you can meditate and you move outside of the mind, so to speak, or away from the mind that's constantly yakking at you. It keeps yakking, but you can go to a place where it's not in the foreground, goes to the background. And through meditation, you can get also into a space where then you start to get some insights, or go to even or you can go to a place of peace of mind. All these things, these ways of getting in touch with the true you are so, so important. And again, I believe more important in today's world than ever before. It truly is a practice, I guess we could call it, that if you spend a little bit of time developing it, it's going to pay off big rewards. It totally helps with anxiety. If you're a person and who isn't in today's world that has anxiety, I think we all do, particularly after going through the pandemic years, and we're not, we're just barely coming out of that. It deals with anxiety. What it really does also is it takes away the thoughts, those thoughts that are constantly running through your mind, and they take you into the future, and oh my God, what if, and that brings you into a whole storyline, and off you go. That's anxiety. And that is just a loop going nowhere. But when you can go inside, quiet, go inside, and I find going into the body, for me, is a bit more natural than meditation. for me. I don't know what it is, but the activity of, like I said, yoga, jogging, walking, that kind of activity for me, and I know for others, that allows this language to come up, this communication from the body. Now, it's always there. Our guides are constantly speaking to us. It's really how our life works. We don't realize it. We think we're making the decisions, and the thoughts are coming through that are false, the false self. And so we start to pay attention to the thoughts, to the future, to the oh my gods, and whatever else we're doing. And we start to believe that all that is true. And we're basically never in the moment. We're never just here, now, because we're off into these other, what do we want to call it, illusions, the movie. We're not in this now time. And when you say to somebody, or when you start this practice and somebody says, just, be here now, be in the now moment, what does that mean? I mean, I understand be here now, but I have no idea how to do that. I don't even know what that exactly means when it says be in the now moment, and now moment, etc. So we have to find ways to start to experience being with what is, Now that also includes oftentimes having an acceptance of what is. For instance, as I was going to start this video today, some gardeners were using that blow thing that makes a huge noise, and I could hear it coming through closed windows, and I thought, okay, now this thing's going to come through while I'm trying to do my video, and I got, crazed for a few minutes with it, and then decided, well, look, this is what is, and I'll use my microphone, and maybe that'll help, and regardless, I'm going to do this, because that's just what is. I'm not going to be able to go out and tell them, would you please shut off your blower, because I have things to do. I didn't think that was going to work, so I went ahead and accepted that. Now, that's a simple acceptance. But when we're in our minds fighting something, or not wanting, resisting is the best word. When we're resisting something going on in our life, we're resisting something at our work, we're working wherever we're working, there's something going on and we're upset about it and we're pushing it away, we're resisting, we don't want it, we want it our way, we want it the way it should be. That keeps us very busy in our mind, basically doing nothing in a way. It's just doing nothing except keeping us in a loop, keeping us in a story, keeping us in the movie that's make-believe. But as humans, this is something we do. It's very, very easy to do. It's what we're used to doing. When we, are coming in and incarnating into the body and we're beginning a life and as a baby, etc., all the memory of who we really are is wiped out. And this is where then suffering comes in, because we are so connected, like deer in headlights, to the external world, to the thoughts that are pulling us in. This isn't fair. This shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have done that. The blame, the blame, the guilt, the beating ourselves up for something we did or didn't do. All of these things are part of this big, what we want to call life, this big thing called life. And this life has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? Just like a book, where there's chapters in it. Where you're either in the beginning chapters, the middle chapters, or the end chapters. And in these chapters, you're living out experiences of a life. But if you're living them through the thoughts and through the external, whatever is going on out there, and through resistance, and through trying to control, that's the other piece, every time we're trying to control what's going on out there because we don't like it, or even trying to control what's going on in here because we don't like it, then this is where we suffer. It's just suffering, it really is. And it's really not easy to talk about, and it's certainly not easy to do, but it definitely can be done, and it is done by many, many people. But the first thing is awareness, becoming aware of the pieces of this, and that's why I try to break it down. So one way to start to get communication and to start to move inward and really start to get insights that you're never going to get from the intellect, you're never going to get from this false self, you're never going to get from something out there or someone telling you something out there. It all starts from within and stays within. So as we can begin to become aware how we're living our life on like this, treadmill, the same thing going on in our head, in our thoughts every day, and we're suffering, then that in itself is a communication, yeah. To say, you know what, there's got to be a better way. We get there, many of us, we get there where we say, I don't want to keep doing what I keep doing, it's not working, there's got to be a better way. So the better way isn't simple. It's not like here's the better way, click, I'm there, no problem. No, it really is it's a job. It takes effort. It takes commitment. It takes a desire to really have this experience. And it takes devotion. A devotion to really wanting to learn, to feel, to have the experience of what it is when you're going within. Now, I've talked before about one of the other ways that we get communication going is through what I call, or I don't call, it's called automatic writing, or through journaling. They're a little bit different, but regardless, it's through writing. And automatic writing for me is not much different in a way than when I get this insight from my body. However, the writing of it, the insight, is probably clearer, it's because I'm writing it, right? So maybe it's easier to decipher, easier to translate what I got somehow comes right through me. It's not anything I'm thinking about. It's the same thing really with the body experience. There's no thought in that same communication, whether it's coming through the body, really it's coming through my hand when I'm doing automatic writing. So really maybe they're the same now that I think about it. The same of what I'm talking about is that we're getting what we can call downloads, a lot of us call it downloads, like it's information from the higher self, the truth. It's not caught up in the false self or identifying that what's, we sometimes call the ego, which is the false self. I like the false self because I think that, I don't know, it's clear, for me. So when we're connected to that false self and we're connected to the thoughts that are coming through that are never ever true, thoughts are never true, okay? Not the thoughts can't be true because they're just coming from memories, they're coming from the false self. It's always a dilemma in a way, and it's what keeps us out of the moment. And so the goal there is thoughts never stop, they go. But to begin to find the other ways of communication, and at some point then these thoughts start moving toward the background rather than staying in the foreground. When we're having the emotions, like I mentioned just earlier, of anxiety, fear, the what ifs, when we're thinking of the what ifs. And that can come in any form. Or wanting to change something, to control, or change someone, change your spouse, change what your friend does or thinks. These are all clues that we're often running in la la land. That's it. We're just running around like little crazy people for nothing. You know, I oftentimes have called it mental masturbation. That's what I think it is. It's you know, it keeps us kind of caught and entertained in a way into these, whatever it is that's taking us away, and it's basically going nowhere. But we can think it's taking us somewhere. We can think that we're solving a problem. We can think that we figured something out. And that's even worse. That keeps us stuck even more. So the first step, really, is becoming aware. Becoming aware of how are you, how am I, how are you, how is anyone experiencing the way we're living our life without the story, without living, I don't mean living your life, do you have enough money, do you need to buy a house, do you need to do this or that? No, I'm not talking about that. Where are we living our life? Are we living it in the here and now and getting our communication through the body, through the inner world? Or are we living our life in that external world, in the movie? You know, it's just a movie that's going on in front of us, but we think we're the main character in the movie. And do we find ourselves getting, aggravated or upset or unhappy? Or it can be the other way around. We think we have times of being happy, and then we don't want to let that go, the being happy part. So it is a game, in a sense. And maybe it's just a game anyway. But whatever it is, no doubt I think goal, I was going to say goal, I don't like that word, so I don't want to use goal, but the ideal situation, if we want to call it that, would be that we are just in the flow of life. Now, the body is used for life to flow through it. The experiences just flow through. But if we stop the flow, and we can't really stop it, but we stop it in our own minds by getting off and going down the rabbit hole of the argument, the blame, the thoughts, buying into the thoughts, etc., then we're living our life in that world, and that world isn't real. It's just make-believe. It absolutely does not exist, and it's never fulfilling. Even though through the times that we can think we're having really happy times, those end, and it's never fulfilling. So ideally, this flow of life, when we can feel that we're living our life in that place of flow, can feel very peaceful, a feeling of being content, a sense of accepting what is without having to argue about it or trying to control something. We still have our preferences, those are going to be there, and we acknowledge those preferences. Like, I'd rather have sun than rain, but I don't want it too hot, by the way, so I want perfect weather. And sometimes here in California, I feel we get perfect weather, but not every day by any means, at least by my standards, what's perfect, right? So we learn then to kind of have this ebb and flow, we could call it an ebb and flow, but we can't do it without an awareness, and that to get aware really involves shifting from where we've been out here, fighting, resisting, getting caught up in the whatever it is, that game out there, getting caught up in our anger. When we feel anger or fear, we get caught up in it rather than going within, because that's a clue. That's a clue. When we feel angry, I think, I don't know, remember who used to call this, they said when you feel angry, consider it doing a U-turn. In other words, when I feel angry at somebody out there or something out there, then what I need to do is become aware, do this U-turn and bring it back here, because it's my anger that's getting triggered. Out there is not the deal. No, it feels that way. But what's going on is my anger is getting triggered and I'm projecting it out there to the circumstance, the person, the thing, the whatever. Or fear, same thing. When I'm feeling fear, it's not because out there is fearful. I'm not to say that, we've got that part of our brain, part of us that does have the fear of a tiger chasing us, right? That's a different kind of fear. Let me get a sip here. Yeah, that's a different kind of safety net, I guess I'll call it, that is ingrained in us, is programmed, and we need it, right? But that's when the adrenaline kicks in and we do what we need to do for survival. I'm not talking about that. I'm really talking about the fear of something that gets triggered, and we think we're fearful from out there, and once we can do this U-turn and bring it back in here and see what program, what belief system, where is this fear being triggered from, you go back to whenever that happened. Most of it happened through childhood, through our environment, through what our parents taught us, or didn't, the word isn't taught, but through the way they believed about fear, anger, whatever. And then we just took it on, and it's a program, kind of, I was going to say stuck in us. It is kind of stuck in us, and we need to release that. And that's how we begin to move into the direction of being in the flow of life. So it's not like a simple instruction. Here, if you want to get into peace of mind and be content, just follow these 3 steps. No, it's way more, I'm going to use the word complicated because I think it is complicated, but it's also subtle. And it's like finding the answer to a mystery, or or trying to put a puzzle together and finding all those pieces that make the puzzle a whole. Maybe that's a good analogy for this, or metaphor. It's like we're a puzzle. Our life is a puzzle, and we're trying to put all the pieces together so we end up with the whole, And so wherever we are in our life, the different chapters that we're in, the beginning, the middle, or the end, then we have different circumstances and different opportunities, we could call them, that will come up. So it's much different than, let's say, we're a child, we grow up, then we become a young adult, and then we have perhaps children of our own. And so that's a whole different set of circumstances, and that creates a whole different way of choices of how perhaps choices that are coming up and how we choose to stay away and aware and awake, or get caught into the illusion and suffer and struggle and live our life that way. I think for most of us, we go through it all. We have it all. For sure I have. There's no doubt. Even though I've been on the spiritual path, whatever that means, for as long as I can remember, it's been a process, or progressive, I guess maybe would be the word, where I've had it all. I've experienced every bit of it, of the being in this illusion and feeling it, but thinking and feeling and experiencing it as real and struggling and suffering and all the level of emotions of guilt and pain and, the whole 9 yards. I believe pretty much most of us, probably all of us in some way, have that. That's why we're here, I think, to have that experience. So, this is duality here. So it's the light and the dark. So we have the dual experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But at a certain point, and these points vary for different, all of us, we're unique, we begin to make some shifts and changes. Right now, I do believe, and I go along with so many others that are really saying this, experiencing this, that right now we are going through a human evolution, or an evolution of consciousness is what a lot of people call it, and that's probably the right word, the evolution of consciousness, but we're humans going through this. And if we're on the planet right now, we chose to come here for this experience, and we're here to contribute in whatever way we can toward the process that this evolution is needing, the process that it's going through, and to get of a mindset that we, in order to be of help, to really contribute, part of that is to work on ourselves. In fact, I don't even think part of it is. The whole thing is probably whatever we're doing within is what's contributing to this evolution, because out there isn't where it's going to happen. We can gather together, and this is where I'm trying to head, as a community, where we can share the different ways that we've been able to move within, have more experiences within, have more insights, have more knowledge of our inner world, because that's where it's at. The inner world is where it all begins and ends. It really is. And so we get this in bits and pieces. Again, it's bits and pieces of the puzzle to start to put this all together. So when talking about it, I think we have to talk about the broad picture, which I guess I'm really doing today. But underneath that is the first one step. It's not the first step, it's just one step, is learning to, or practicing, it's not learning, you already know how to do this, we all do, getting into the body and hearing the language, the communication that's coming from your body as you are in movement or in some type of activity. So that's a little bit different than meditation. You still get from the body when you're in meditation, you're going within. So that works. Or the automatic writing, as I've talked about, it's still coming through the body. So start to recognize the importance of the body in terms of really being able to guide us and to give us the insights and the perhaps even the motivation, inspiration, to begin to awaken into what is true, the reality. That's really where the body's function is, besides just having, I shouldn't say just having, this is huge, besides having life move through it. It's the vehicle. And it's magical, it's amazing, I just listened to, and I think I mentioned this on another video, to Jill Bolte Taylor, who had the very serious stroke when she was in her early 30s, and she's a researcher of the brain and a teacher of that. And when she puts this together and you hear her or others speak about how magnificent this body is, like it's mind-blowing. It's like, how does this all work? And how does the body, the heart know how to beat and the blood know how to flow? And it is brilliant. It's like beyond what we can possibly understand. So given that, why wouldn't we accept the communication from the body and really learn and gain and use that because it's right there for us to use the fact that we get communication through the body, and to really honor this body. And there's days, I'm sure, with most of us, for sure me, where I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm hurting, I did too much yoga, or I'm just aching, or I have a headache, or whatever, and I'm kind of angry with the body, so to speak, or like, when you don't feel well, you want to go, get me out of this body, whatever it is. But, so we have again, the dual, the light and the dark. But I think for me, and I think others that I've listened to, as we begin to respect our body in a very different way than maybe we have in the past, and to really get on board with what the body has to offer, it can really make some changes in our life. Huge changes. And like I've said, particularly now. So I invite you to try it out, to see what you're doing with your body, to start some different, I was going to say practices. It could just be exploration into the body, and to just give it a shot. Try it. You've got nothing to lose. It's going to maybe take some time, If you have a sport that you're involved in, or yoga, or running, or walking, that type of thing, when you're doing that, then just give it a shot and just in your mind say, okay, I want to go within. I want to feel the body. And then just stay there. I want to feel the body, what's going on. And it's a quiet time. It's not where you're having a conversation. It's just a quiet time of feeling the body. Give that a shot. See what happens for you. A one-time try most likely won't do it. For me, it's taken years, really, to keep getting deeper connections that way. And I feel now, at this point in time, maybe after all the years I've been doing this, I'm starting to get some real insights that I just hadn't had before, that feel extremely important and are amazing, are awesome. So I invite you to give this a shot. I invite you to start noticing your thoughts and releasing them, and moving within, doing some shifts for yourself, self-care in that respect, That is self-care, to start to pay attention to where are you living your life, in the outer or in the inner. Maybe that's the question. So I'd love to hear your comments. How's it work for you? Or if you give it a shot, let me know what happens. I'd love to see some of your comments. And I'd also like to ask you, if you like this video, to give it a like and subscribe. And also, if you just click that little button next to subscribe, or doodad, it's not a button, I don't know what it is, then you'll get notified every time a new video comes out. And as I mentioned before, my contact information is below the video. And if you'd be open, or even get excited maybe over having a conversation with me about whatever you think could contribute to another person, then let's get together and let's try that. What else? I think that's it for now. So take care of yourself. Listen to the body if you can. And I'm going to click this thing until next time.